This week I learned, thinking that you're going to come home after 8 hours of airports and travel? Not going to happen. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back another midweek weekly update, kind of a delayed thing here to where I think I'm only going to be doing one weekly update for like these 2 weeks here just because I was traveling. If you missed it, I did go to Christopher Rocchio's gala, did host that event. MC, it sounds weird to say you're hosting it. You're master of ceremonies. I'm the one who got to be on stage and ask Christopher a bunch of questions and just be a steward for all things Sun Eater. It was a very, very fun trip we'll talk about here in a minute, but that's what kind of put me behind on my schedule here because, guys, it will absolutely wipe you out not only to travel that much, but to spend 2 days just talking to a million people. It was a blast. It was absolutely a blast. Cannot thank Christopher enough for inviting me and trusting me enough to do something like that. So I want to thank him and Jenna for inviting me and my wife, treating us like absolute royalty, and just it was a great time, and I'm so glad I got to experience it. But guys, what am I reading? That's where we should start, right? Because of all these events, whenever you're traveling, you're trying to get everything done before you go. You don't get to read very much. I'm still working my way through Empire of the Dawn, about to pass the halfway point. I actually just read a really detailed sex scene. Jay is good at that. He had me kind of like usual with these things, but it was one of those where I liked book one a lot. Book two, it has, I think, 5 books within the book, with parts, basically. I really liked book one. Book two, it started good, kind of dragged a little bit. That is the alternate POV character. If you haven't read book two, I don't want to spoil that for you. I didn't mind it. I thought it went a little too long. It's just going a little too long without Gabe. Gabe is, to me, what I started reading the series for. So I don't like seeing him leave the story for that long a period of time. Now we're starting to have a little bit of convergence here in book 3, and I'm thinking it's going to be kind of all like skating downhill here towards the end. But I like it a lot. It kind of depends on where it goes for me to say where I'm going to place it in the series. Because right now, no, it's not touching book 1 for me, but it's kind of how I felt similarly about book 2, and that I like it a lot. It just kind of depends on what happens. Now we are headed towards that part of the book, the part of the series I've been waiting for. That's when we very first heard about why Gabe is imprisoned at the beginning of the series. So that's what I've been kind of waiting for to see. Had some really big things answered, some big questions you have about the ending of Empire of the Dam. You do get some of those answers here early on in this book, and they've been very, very fulfilling. It does have some of that universe shrinking thing where it seems like everyone kind of knows everyone. But again, I'll wait and see how he sticks the landing with this to see where I got to see if he does stick the landing with this, because I know that there is some big thing that he kept asking people who had read it at his event. He kept asking, did you see that twist coming? So we'll see how that goes for me. I don't know. We will see how it goes. But right now I'm encouraged. I really feel like it's starting to head towards where it's about to hit 88 miles per hour, right? That's where it feels like we're headed. And I'm anxious to see this event that we've been kind of hearing about for 2.5 books now and see how it did all transpire and where our characters do end up. I also, you do think on the plane, I had my Kindle with me, and you think I would focus on Empire of the Dawn, or you think maybe, hey, you're going to an event to talk about Shadows Upon Time, maybe you start about that. Well, guys, I was seduced. I was seduced by the dark side of literature here. I couldn't help it, guys. I picked this up. This was going to be a December read. Still is. It still is. You just kind of need a break a little bit. And it's one of those quick, let me check in. Let me see how my characters are. And next thing you know, you've read 120 pages. This is one of those where it helped me remember really easily once I started reading. Like, thanks, Jim. I had finally gotten over my depression from 4 years ago, and you've immediately put me back into it, because if you guys remember how Battleground ended, it very much picks up not too long after that. And Harry is none the worse for wear. He is in a bad place. And you feel that. You feel that in the opening of this book. But I have already laughed out loud a handful of times doing some things that Jim can do where it's very serious, very heavy. There are some very emotional things going on. You can find a way to get one line in there that'll make you laugh a little bit. But I definitely would say it surprised me a little bit about where it's going really early on. We're doing some things I wasn't expecting, but you can already tell this is going to be another fun Dresden adventure, because I flew through those first 120 pages like they were nothing, and I can't wait to see where it does come going forward, where it goes go with this story, because this is the longest I personally had to wait for a Dresden Files book. I was lucky enough that I started reading the series on the lead up to Peace Talks, and I got the review copies of both Peace Talks and Battleground early. So this is the first I've really had to wait for a Dresden Files book, and so far it's been worth the wait. But I like I said, that was just kind of something that was just a spur of the moment. I said, well, I picked it up. I did say I want to get better at reading these review copies, but like I said, this was in the plans for December. But I do think it'd be a nice idea to take the edge off after 3 monstrous books, King's Sorrow, Strength of the Few, and Empire of the Dawn, before I get into 4th monstrous book, which of course is Shadows Upon Time, is to read a Dresden Files book, because that was my palate cleanser between those big Wheel of Time books back in the day. So it feels like it's kind of come full circle here, and it's kind of back to where it belongs, and kind of taking the edge off of some of these big old beasts here. But what am I going to read, guys? Obviously, this week it's going to be trying to finish Empire of the Dawn. I want to try to focus on that before I get started on Shadows Upon Time. That is something that does take priority. I wish I had gotten to read it, at least start it before the gala did happen this past weekend, but that's okay. The book hadn't actually officially come out until today, so it wasn't a big deal. It's not like we were all just up there talking about the book that we haven't read yet. Austin and Richard over at ℓ𝕬𝕤𝕣𝕔𝕙𝕤𝕤, they were trying to speedrun it because they were talking to Christopher about the ending of the books. They were trying to speedrun it while they were there, and I was like, Austin, holy crap, you're finding a way to be an introvert with 400 people here. He's off reading in the corner. I admire their hustle, and I think they did actually. They asked for an extension of a day, and they stayed a day later than my wife and I did, and actually did get to have that discussion with Christopher, and I can't wait to hear it after I finish Shadows Upon Time. I guess I should tell you guys about the Sun Eater Gala. I didn't take a lot of pictures. Something that I've started doing, like, you guys remember we used to go to concerts and we used to just enjoy them, just live in the moment, so to speak. I just said I wanted to enjoy this. I want to remember this. I don't want to have memories of it being nothing but behind looking through a phone screen. I didn't want to do that. So I know there were several other people who have asked, hey, are you going to release videos? And I didn't record any. I didn't even take any pictures. There was just a couple that we did take. I did post that picture where I got to take with some of the C. Elson cosplayers. It was really awesome. So I had a blast at this. Again, the fact that Christopher and Jenna trusted me enough to kind of run point for them on this, gave me a microphone, asked me to do the Q&A and all that stuff, and it was a blast for me. I mean, it was an absolute, it was just awesome. I mean, I think that Jay's event had a few more people, but this was way more where I was having a lot of my viewers in the audience, because obviously I brought a lot of people to that series, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm so thankful they wanted to give me some time with the microphone to talk about what the series has meant to me. And I got to meet and work with so many other booktubers at this event, guys. It was so surreal meeting a lot of these people. I know I'm not going to remember everybody, but I mean, we met John and Jacob from Talking Story right away. We went and had some lunch. And later on at dinner, we met Austin and Richard from ℓ𝕬𝕤𝕤. That was great. Got to meet Preacher. I got to meet Jake from Nerd Level Rising, Sherilyn and Tabitha from Books, Beverages, and Bessies. Hope I said that right. Tom Orange, King Crusoe, who actually was a hard-ass worker because there were some things that went wrong at the gala. And King Crusoe and my wife actually stepped up to help them out with the check-in process. Jordan, obviously, over at iWizard, he was on the panel with me. Jordan actually did a couple of videos over on his channel while we were there. It was a fun discussion while we were out there at a coffee shop in downtown Raleigh. Samwise, Chance Dillon, so many more people that I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning. I'm just going off of memory here, but it was a blast. And what I loved about that is the community is so great, guys. The BookTube community is so great. That's why I think it's so special. I really do, because all these other content creators, it's like there was no getting to know us. We just immediately, it's like we just known each other our whole life. And I'm pretty sure this was the first chance a lot of us have ever met each other. And it was just great. It was just a phenomenal event, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So we've been talking about putting together a BookTube kind of con thing for a while. So thank you, Christopher, for kind of softly doing that as we were there to celebrate your series. It was a blast, and I will never ever forget it. My wife had an amazing time too. It was just spectacular. And you guys wanted to see some footage? Don't worry. I'm pretty sure Jacob from Talking Story did catch a lot of footage from this event, and I think he said he's got about 6 hours of film to go through and kind of parse it down to a watchable video. And I will anxiously be awaiting that to watch for myself, for all the things that I didn't get to see because I was busy with a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. But it was a blast. Again, want to say thank you to Christopher and everybody that made the trip and everybody who come and said hi. I am so grateful that you guys give me credit for what Christopher has done. Absolutely not what I said there. Don't matter how much I said. His book was great. If his book wasn't great, you guys wouldn't have cared what I said about it. So again, I just love seeing Christopher's success. I'm so happy for him. I'm so proud of him. And I'm just thrilled to see what does come in the future, which he did talk about. We'll talk about that here more in just a second. For this week on the channel, guys, I had a couple things before I did leave. I did get to do my review for Strength of the Few by James Islington, book 2 in the hierarchy. And, you know, at first it was like, oh, this is why I don't talk about sequel books for book reviews. Singular book reviews, yes, they do still happen. I know it's crazy. But I always usually try to avoid sequels. The whole reason I did one for this is just because I was so excited to talk about it. Because I did like it better than the first book. I'm seeing kind of mixed reaction to that. Some people say they like it as much as book 1. Some people say not as much as book 1. But it's actually kind of ticked up a little bit. So I think maybe people were just finishing the book before they watched the review. And that's cool. But I had really, really great things to say about it. I thought it was a really, really ambitious book. Some of the risks that he took were really, really ballsy. And I think he really did pull some of those off. And I talk about why for 20 minutes if you do want to catch that. I think it's spoiler-free, sort of. I did give a very, very light spoiler warning at the beginning. It's nothing that the back flap doesn't give away. I kind of tell you what 2 new settings are. So I said I want to make sure that you knew that it had very light spoilers. So I told people, hey, if you don't want to know anything, maybe come back to the video after. And hopefully that's what people are doing. I started the first of my looking ahead to 2026 content. And when I just talked about how Dresden Files is being a standalone here, between, not really a standalone, but a palate cleanser between these heavier fantasy reads, what I did was my video for my standalones and my palate cleansers for 2026. And these are 10 books that are either standalones or part of a series where you can kind of put shorter books in between heavier reads. And it's really fun looking ahead like that. So this year I am focusing more on finishing some series instead of starting a bunch of new ones. But I still want to make sure I'm doing some of these solo reads here to kind of take that edge off. Make sure we avoid reading burnout because it is very, very real. And I got some things on there that I never would have expected that I would have picked myself. It's a couple that are just completely off of, hey, someone must have recommended this to me because I had it on my want to read list on Goodreads and it sounded interesting. And somewhere I'm like, I think that book might devastate me emotionally. But I did put it on there. So we're going to see how things do go. But it's always fun to look at some standalones. You know, standalones of fantasy are pretty much like a unicorn, and I think I found one. But there are some series and some books on there that might be out of my normal comfort zone. And I said I'd be surprised if some people come along with me on some of these, but I hope that you will. It'll be really, really fun. Speaking again one more time of Christopher, he had his official book launch live stream today. And I was a guest on there for 8 hours. The thing is I didn't mean to stay on there that long. It was just like, I thought there was going to be a lot more people on there. And I didn't want Christopher to feel abandoned. So I stayed with him pretty much the whole day. Was working from home. And, you know, it makes it a little easier. I was able to drop in and out, get all my stuff done, and then kind of just chill there. This is actually the first time. We've talked several times off camera. We talk actually quite frequently off camera. This is the first time actually on camera, on screen, that both B and Daniel Green have been in the same video. So that was kind of fun for some people that watched that. If you want to parse through the entire 8-hour video to find that segment, I think you can, but it was nothing really amazing or whatever. Me and Daniel have talked about maybe doing something in the future, and that'll probably happen. I think it's more of a matter of when, not if. But yes, guys, you can put to rest all those theories about how me and Daniel hate each other. I think you can see in that video we do not hate each other. We don't consider each other rivals or anything like that. What I've constantly said to anybody who says all those nasty things is that Daniel is a trailblazer on YouTube. He really is. He opened the door for a lot of people, such as myself, to be able to do this, and I will always be grateful to him for that. So, no, there is no slander coming from me. That's all in your head. And me and Daniel have talked many, many a time, and we have no problems with one another. And I'm excited to work with him here in the future. Hey, where may work for him? Who knows? He might be actually launching a big empire here soon. You know, maybe I'll be able to be a part of that. I don't know, but it was fun to get that one off of the list of things I wanted to achieve on YouTube. Was talking to the guy who was doing this before I even thought about doing this, and put some of those stupid rumors to bed that Daniel and I hate each other. It's very much not true. But again, thank Christopher for allowing me to hang out that long, and we talked for a bit after we went off the air. So I'm surprised I have a voice left right now because I almost lost it at the gala this weekend. Next week plans, guys, got a couple of things in the plans here. Look, I guess I should call it this week plans, right? Since we're already at Tuesday during the week. I did record a discussion with ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕤 before I left. Thinking I'm going to get that up sometime later this week, just because I'm chicken with the head cut off, guys, just trying to get everything done. When you get back from a trip like that, everything is just, you feel like you are behind the 8 ball and trying to get things taken care of at work. I mean, it's just now I'm getting to do a video here on the channel for a weekly update that usually comes out on Saturday or Sunday. Here we are on Tuesday getting it out. So I think I might just use this week to just kind of recoup and get everything back on track during Thanksgiving week. So I think it will be no weekly update this weekend. This will be the weekly update for the 2 weeks, and then we'll just start fresh starting on Thanksgiving week. And I do have some things planned, but nothing, finalized yet enough to where I could say, hey, this is what's coming next week. So, just look forward to that discussion that ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕤 and I had, which was awesome, by the way. I had a blast with that. Ronald's such an incredibly nice guy. We talked about every single book that I have read by him, and he answered questions in a non-spoilerish kind of way, so don't worry about that. But it was a great conversation. Awesome guy, and it's really awesome when you find an author you really like, and you're a little nervous beforehand. You're like, what if they're not very fun to talk to? That was not the case at all. ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕤, awesome to talk to. I can't wait for you guys to hear it, and hopefully you will check out some of his books if you have not. Got a couple of TV and movie talk things here before I go. I've had a lot of people, it even happened on Christopher's live stream today, ask me, have you watched Welcome to Derry, Mike? Because I know you're a big Stephen King fan. And I always say, I don't like Stephen King fan fiction, which is what this would be, because it is not really based too terribly much off of stuff that he wrote. However, I am watching this because it has the same creative team behind it, Part 1 and Part 2, the movies, and it does have the return of Bill Skarsgård eventually. So we'll talk about this here. What I say about this is, look, a lot of the stuff that they're doing is mentioned in the books, in epigraphs, things like that. Dick Hallorann from The Shining, yes, he is not just created for the TV series. He is mentioned in the book. They're doing the black spot. There's things in there that are from the book. So they're just expanding on them a little bit. I think the complaint that I have about the show and other people have about the show is that, look, if you've read the book, you know, Pennywise doesn't always appear as the clown. He appears as all kinds of things. He appears as what scares the shit out of the person that he's messing with. That makes sense. But I think people who are watching the show, they're expecting to see Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, and you're not getting that on the show. You're getting different versions of him, and you're getting weird voices, which clearly aren't Bill Skarsgård. So people maybe who just watched just the movie and are expecting to see the clown have been kind of let down by that. And that's why I think after episode 4, they did have a trailer that showed in the weeks ahead, and it did show several clips with Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. So I think that they were kind of wanting to do a slow burn and eventually show him. I think that they've started to bleed some viewers a little bit, so I want to make sure you know it is coming. It is coming, I think. I think the show overall, it's entertaining. The CGI is awful. I hate the CGI. It takes me out of it. And there's some things I'm like, okay, cool, you can use some CGI for some things, but you're getting way over-reliant on it. Like there's one part where they're showing the kids on their bikes, and they're on stationary bikes, and there's a blue screen behind them. I'm like, are we really doing this? You can't even just record. You can't get a cart and record kids on a bike anymore. We really can't do this. It's like you're treating it like the people that are riding on the fake dragons on House of the Dragon, which of course you have to do because dragons don't exist, bikes exist. It's stuff like that's frustrating, and that CGI was so bad in that graveyard scene that it just took me out of the scene. Like it was laughably bad. Like Ghostbusters came out 40 years ago, and it looks better than that. So that's a little frustrating, and I had that complaint about the movies too. Is every time there was some kind of CGI, it just really took me out of the whole movie there. So I don't know. It's good and bad. There's some things I like. There's some things I don't like. I actually like the guy playing Dick Hallorann a lot. I think he's really good. He definitely looks like he could be a younger Catman. Catman? How you say? I can't think of it. From the original Dick Hallorann from the Kubrick Shining. Looks like it could tie into that. So it's got some things I think they still kind of treat The Shine like it's the Force, like it's just a straight up like shooting laser balls out of your, shooting lasers out of your eyeballs. That's kind of what it seems like they treat The Shining sometimes, but I don't think it's abusing it too bad. Like other shows have done it worse that have adapted The Shine. But I like it for the most part. I think it has potential. I'm more interested in them going back another 27 years in the next 2 seasons and seeing those 2 settings. I think that could be really cool, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll close this out by saying we did come back and do our family movie, which was Good Boy. Good Boy. This movie, it's a horror movie from the perspective of a dog. I thought this would be because we're still kind of running through some of our scary movies with the kids. I know we really dropped the ball on Mike's Media Reviews. That's my fault. I'll explain that some other time. But Good Boy was great. I liked it. Very neat idea, because you always see these horror movies and sometimes they have a pet, and you know, really the pet's just kind of an afterthought, unless it's The Conjuring and they decide to hurt the pet. But with this, it's putting it from the perspective of a dog, not holding your hand, not explaining anything. I think it was really good. And I won't lie, man, I was devastated for this dog. I really was. This dog actually had the ability to like emote. Very, very good. This is the director's dog named Indy. This is the actual director's real life dog. And it was interesting. It was very well done. An indie film, you know, very, very small budget. But I think it was a neat idea, putting it from that perspective of someone who's watched a lot of scary movies. It has some good scares in it too. There's some stuff that's really creepy. And a couple times, even my youngest was like, "Okay, that got me," you know. So it was pretty good. I enjoyed it, and you know, my kids were 13 and 10. They had a good time with it. They both said it was less scary than a Conjuring movie. So I think if you don't think the Conjuring movies are scary, you'll be fine. But I think dog lovers will probably get a bit out of it. Just the thing is, like, don't go into that expecting like some huge story. Again, you're seeing this from the dog's point of view. You're not getting your hand held, your paw held, and telling you everything that's going on. It's just kind of your experiences as the dog sees things. And I think that was a brave choice, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So again, this isn't a storyline that's going to knock you over, but I think just the ambiance, and of course, you just want to see a little good boy, you know, trying to take care of his human there. I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. Very, very dark in many regards. There's some really, really messed up things that happen, but it's a great, great flick. And if you guys are just worried, I don't like stuff that hurts animals, I think you'll be okay. I'll just leave it at that. I think you'll be okay. But yeah, you will feel it right here just a little bit. But I definitely recommend it. Again, yeah, really young kids might be a little too scary, but you know, tweens, something like that, I think that might be just the appropriate. If this is like entry-level horror for them, I think that they would probably be okay. But we did enjoy it, and I'm glad that it got made. And I think it's kind of a subgenre we might see more of in the future. I wouldn't mind seeing more of things like that. But guys, that was my week. Very, very exhausting, exciting week. Sorry about the lack of content here. Just been completely wore out. Again, thank you to everyone that we met this weekend. You guys are phenomenal. Everyone treated my wife like the queen that she is, and I appreciate that. She had a blast too. And again, just once in a lifetime experience, and I hope that someday we can do it again. So guys, what is your week looking like? You can hear my voice is giving out because, again, I talked all day. But drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you are playing, and I will talk to you there.